Hey guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about morning guys anyway. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked in Israel right now and her split from her party Likud um, along with her partner Natalie Bennett. Right now in Israel, like I said before in some of my other videos, there's a power struggle on the right wing between Benjamin Netanyahu's um, Likud party and other far right wing parties like Avigdor Lieberman's Betayanu Israel Party and the new Jewish Party, which was formed in 2018, which was the Jewish Home Party, which was later renamed the New Right Party. And the reason why I call her the far right, new far right Bay is because this is a phenomenon that we've seen in American politics, the rise of seemingly extremist politicians that are female, that are articulate, and that are very attractive. And we're seeing it now in Israel. Now, some of the aims of this party, well, one of the aims of this party is that they don't believe in a two-state solution. As you know, since 1993, in the government of Yitzhak Rabin, Israel has recognized the Palestinian Authority and has been committed to a peace plan with the Palestinian Authority or Fatah, and hopefully one day hoped to pull out of the of the of the West Bank and Gaza Strip territory acquired in the '67 war, and eventually to create a viable independent Palestinian state. But this group and the right wing, increasingly the right wing in Israel is saying no. They want to annex um, uh, the West Bank, the area they call Judea and Samaria. They want to keep the historic Jewish cities of Hebron and, of course, Jerusalem. Donald Trump already decreed that he'll be moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He's already done that out of Tel Aviv into Jerusalem. And that also Israel now recognizes sovereignty over the Golan Heights, renamed Trump Heights, in the northern part of Israel on the border with Syria. This is beneficial to the United States because, of course, Israel is our closest ally in the Middle East, other than Saudi Arabia. And they have a very strategic missile defense program against the Iranians. And in the north, of course, we're still fighting ISIS and other Syrian rebels still, so we need that secure border in in the north. And then in Gaza, Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005. But what did the Gazans go and do? They went and elected Hamas as their government. They kicked out Fatah and they elected Hamas, which is anti-Israel and often sponsors terror attacks within Israel, and that is Islamist. So as the Palestinian people become more Islamist, the Jewish parties within the same country or territory starting to become more religious as well, religious Zionists, because there's a divide in Israel between the religious people on the one hand who want to see the state as more Jewish, and then the secular people who want to see the state more democratic. And then you have this um, this combination of religious Zionist people. Much of the settlers in the West Bank are religious Zionists. And then you have religious anti-Zionist people who believe that um, Jewish people can't have a state until the Messiah comes, and the state of Israel is completely illegitimate. So the aim of this party that Ayelet Shaked is part of is to unify secular and Jewish Israelis that are on the right on the right wing of the political spectrum, even further right than Netanyahu. Now, people are saying, well, she's just the justice minister now, but she could possibly run for prime minister, and um, she could become the second woman in Israeli history to be prime minister after Golda Meir, the younger version of Golda Meir, and she's of Sephardi origin, meaning that she's descendants she's descendant from Jewish people from Iraq on her mother's side, and on I think her father's side, she's descended from the early settlers that came to Israel in the first Aliyah, the first Yishuv settlement movement. So, uh, be interesting to see how far she gets in Israeli politics. Another thing is that I'm starting to notice, because the founders of Israel in the early 1900s, they were very left wing. They were the Poleze Zion in Hebrew, the workers of Zion. They were very socialist. Some were communist. Some were very far left wing, and they viewed the Arab population at that time as very right wing and very reactionary, very religious, both Christians and Muslims. But one thing I'm starting to notice in in Israel, the political scene there, from watching as an outsider here in the United States, is the left is being Labor, Meretz is being pushed out, and the battles now are between Likud, which is a center right party, and this new Jewish Home Party, new right party that Shaked is a part of, becoming uh, more left. I mean, more right, the extreme right, like Mir Kahana level, like Baruch Goldstein, who committed um, a mass murder of Muslims in the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron in '93. So, I just think if people thought Netanyahu was bad, like Bernie Sanders complained about Netanyahu and the right wing government that we have now in Israel as a partner, just wait until Fashi Bey gets in. And then when Fashi Bey gets in, Fashi Bey is going to be even worse than Netanyahu. She's gonna make Netanyahu look like he was a Boy Scout. You know, I mean, people are saying that they should annex Palestine. Make Palestine no more two-state solution. One state. One state. Just Israel, no Palestine. The Palestinian people should be incorporated into Israel like the Israeli Arabs of 48, learn the Hebrew language, go to the Hebrew schools, but basically live as second class citizens in the way that Israelis from, I mean, Arab Israelis from like Beersheba regions or Haifa live. And I just say that's very scary because then we'll have an apartheid situation like we had in South Africa, like we had in the United States under Jim Crow between blacks and whites. And basically mimicking not only that, but the founding of the United States and how we treated the Native Americans. We never really integrated the Native Americans into our society, and they became a fifth column, you know. So when you have a person like Shaked with the things that she proposes, plus she's very right wing too in her economic policy. She's very laissez faire type capitalism, and that is going to be terrible for poorer Israelis, both and not uh, Jewish and Arab, especially Ethiopian and Sephardic Jews that are on the economic bottom of the country. So as Israel begins to move to the right, and you have people like her, people like Avigdor Lieberman, people like Moshe Fagel, you know, uh, it's going to be disastrous for the country and for Middle East relations because a lot of Arab countries are trying now, Chad, now Qatar, now Saudi Arabia. They're trying to make peace with Israel. They're trying to follow in Egypt and Jordan's footsteps to try to make peace with Israel. The UAE is one of them too. And it's like Israel's going to develop anti-Arab policies that are going to make it difficult for any Muslim country, not just an Arab country, other than Azerbaijan, to have peace with Israel because they're going to be so anti-Arab and so exclusionary towards Arab people and Muslim people and the Muslim faith that I mean, I heard something. What was it? I think last year. I heard that they were thinking about um, trying to rebuild the third temple. Now, as you know, in the Bible, in the year 70 A.D., the Roman Emperor Titus defeated Simon Bar Kokhba in the Jewish War, the Second Jewish War, and exiled the Jewish people to other parts of the Roman Empire and destroyed the Second Temple. And it's been part of the Jewish religion in the Galut, in the diaspora, to want to return to the land of Israel, return to Jerusalem, and rebuild the third temple. But right now, as we speak, as of the 10th century, under the Umayyads, Abdul Malik, the Caliph, um, built the Dome of the Rock there. And the Dome of the Rock, Beitul Arvin, Arab house in Hebrew, is there. And in order to rebuild the third temple, you have to tear down the Muslim holy site. And that will cause a war between Islam and not only Islam and Judaism, but we'll have to be dragged into it. We'll have because we're not ally of Israel. Then Iran will be dragged into it. Then North Korea will be dragged. So their plans to rebuild a third temple in Jerusalem with the temple shekel having a picture of King Cyrus of Persia, who in the Bible was the king who defeated the Babylonians, and he he allowed the Jews to return. And this is in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah. He allowed the Jews to return to Israel to rebuild the temple after it was destroyed the first time by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. He allowed them to come back home and rebuild the temple. So it has, the coin has a picture of him, and the coin has a picture of Donald Trump. So basically, a lot of Israelis view Donald Trump as the next Cyrus the Great because he put the embassy in Israel. He declared um, Israel, Jerusalem, Israel's the capital. So taking basically Jerusalem off the table, because one of the things that was holding back negotiations for years between Yasser Arafat, Netanyahu, Yasser Arafat, and Ehud Barak, or Yasser Arafat and Rabin, or Yasser Arafat and anybody, or Mahmoud Abbas and Ehud Olmert, all between Israeli leadership and Palestinian leadership. One of the things that was holding it back was that uh, Palestinian people always said, if there will never be a Palestinian state unless East Jerusalem, which is majority Arab, is the capital of it, not Ramallah, where like Mahmoud Abbas lives, but Jerusalem, Al Quds in Arabic, right? Well, of course, the Jewish Israelis gonna reject such things because they believe that Jerusalem is their capital, city of David, and David captures in the Bible from the Jebusites. And they rebuild. Solomon builds the temple, and then it gets torn down by Nebuchadnezzar. Then they rebuild it. It gets torn down again in 70 A.D. And you have the Kotel there, the Western Wall there, which is the largest open air synagogue in the entire world. So, and this is what sparked the Al-Aqsa Intifada in the 2000s when Ariel Sharon, who was the prime minister of Israel at the time, even went up there. People from the Muslim side just went crazy, and it was another uprising and another series of violence. So if they tried to, with this girl, if they tried to rebuild the Beit HaMikdash, the third temple in in, in Jerusalem, might set off World War III, man. Shit is scary right now that so many people are going to such extremes in a place that's already so volatile, in a place that's already such a powder keg. Winston Churchill went to the Balkans um, in the 40s and said, "This is the powder keg that will set off the entire world," and it's true. It was true about the Balkans, and we saw that in the 90s. We saw that, with the massacre of Kosovo Albanians and the massacre of Bosnians. But for our generation, I think Israel Palestine is going to be the conflict that's going to set off world war, because Iran, Rouhani, the president of Iran, already said that if the United States even thinks about attacking um, attacking Iran, sending missiles to Iran, Israel will be wiped off the map. So it's kind of ironic that they praise Trump as the next Cyrus, and Cyrus himself was the leader of the Achaemenid dynasty that was based in what is today modern day Iran. I find that kind of interesting. Um, yeah, but we'll have to just see what transpires between now and now and next couple of months with this Ayelet Shaked and what her and John Bolton in our State Department do. Peace. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel.